for someone new to die.
These aren't just random killings.
There's something really scary about a guy with a knife who just snaps.
TV adverts have been coming out for Scream have had the logo "Getting scared has never been this much fun," and I find that completely wrong. But having fun at a scary film, that's two different things. There's one, having fun because you're laughing at it, or you're having fun because it's doing all the right things. That's what Scream is doing, that's what Scream has always been. But when I saw them when I was fairly young, when I was about 10 or 11, say around then, you know, Scream was particularly scary, it was jumpy, but it had that satirical edge to it, it had the comedy, it had the humour, it had the edginess of a really fresh horror film that I'd never seen before. The almost trash that it's been making fun of has been the reason why I've loved Scream since the first time I saw it. And then after Scream, of course, we had Scream 2, which was arguably even maybe better than Scream 1. And then we had Scream 3, which was okay. You know, I'm not a hater of Scream series in general. I'm the one who has a softer spot for Scream 3. And then Scream 4 comes along, and I go in with trepidation mostly because, come on, it's the fourth in a series. But I can gladly say that Scream 4 did not disappoint me at all. It really held up more than I thought it was going to. You know the synopsis. Neve Campbell has come back after 10 years, and what's happened is the entire saga of Stab, the film in a film that is in a film in a film in this film, which has time travel, that makes no sense unless you've seen the film. And because this is new rules, new decade, new generation, what happens is that all these films that they're basically trying to do are like reboots and remakes. Now for Scream films, and especially Scream 4, it really only really applies to the fans. And I'm such a huge fan of Scream, to come out saying no, it's not bad, and to have such a giddy little smile on my face from start to finish is an accomplishment, since Wes Craven hasn't made a good film since Scream 2. I take that back, Red Eye is actually really good, I forgot about that one. That's a suspense thriller, that's actually really good. Scream has always been an incredibly self-aware, self-conscious, self-knowing series from start to finish, you know, self-mocking, all these films which, Scream sometimes isn't any better than those films. I think that's the whole funny thing about it. But it's not a self-aware type of comedy or humor that really dampens this film. It actually lifts this film, it makes it seem fresh and new and inviting. And the thing about it is that it actually works at what the original Scream film, the original one, the first two films worked really well with.
The unexpected is the new cliche.
And virgins can die now.
The thing about that is that you're watching the film and it just takes you by surprise at how violent the film is. And this film, being new decade, new generation, new rules, whatnot, there is a new thing with the BBFC, which is like the MPAA. They'll be more lenient on these types of horror films because they're not particularly scary anymore, they're not particularly gruesome or anything like that, they just have very violent scenes. And seeming that the last film that really was a hardcore 18 was a Serbian film, you can see why this has been not classified as particularly violent. The thing about Scream 4 with the A as the 4 is that it really does work at the best of the ability of the original films. It's got all the complacent and adequate scares that you would want it to have. It has all the self-knowing wit and not charm, but laughs and humour. It had me giggling from start to finish. The only thing I can really say about Scream 4 that lets it down isn't that it's a bad horror film. It's the fact that it's in a series which is going to turn into one if it continues. Think about Nightmare on Elm Street. Nightmare on Elm Street 1 is fine. It's good. I wouldn't say it's great. I just think it's cheesy, over the top, and fairly outdated. Second one, terrible. One of the worst films I've ever seen. Third one, the best one in the series in my mind. Fun, inventive, creative, whatever you want to call it, outdated, cheesy as hell, makes it fun in my mind. Fourth one has King Kane in it. That makes no sense to anyone who hasn't seen the films. He's in it for 5 minutes, makes it 5 minutes of watchable Nightmare on Elm Street garbage. Fifth one, shockingly bad. Not good. Sixth one of the worst films I've ever seen, and it's the worst in the series. Seventh one, That's the problem with Scream. It has this whiff of already being like Nightmare on Elm Street 4, Freddy's Triple Murders, or whatever it's called. It's a bad film. It's so forgettable. The fact that it's got that whiff of being crap, you kind of think that it is going to be rubbish, and it does have this old school kind of I'm only going to see this at a grindhouse theatre kind of feel to it. It kind of feels cheap. There's been plenty and plenty of spoofs of horror films that have come out, even ones that aren't in the scary movie. There's a film called Fido, which stars Billy Connolly, which is actually a really, really funny film. And of course you've had Shaun of the Dead, which this film avidly gives pointers to. And of course you've had Zombieland, movies like that. It's not that this film feels cliched, it just feels like it's Scream 1, 2 and 3 in the best of. But the best of Scream 1, 2 and 3 is still a really good Scream film, even though this film follows the same path and conventions. But the thing about that is it isn't a wide audience of horror movies, or a wide range of horror movies that this film is following. It's following its own conventions. So I have to give it plaudits for that. And Scream definitely does feel more fresh and more fun than any horror film I've seen in the last good while. I can honestly say I haven't had this much fun since Christina Aguilera in Burlesque. That's how I would describe Scream 4. It's burlesque of horror films with none of the guiltiness of a guilty pleasure.